Hey, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this Thursday for this awesome Business Builder webinar. Today we are going to learn from Tamsin Haley. Tamsin is the CEO and founder of Social Happiness, hence her logo on the screen right now. And she is really passionate about marketing, but not quite for the reason you would expect. Tamsin is passionate about marketing because she is passionate about small businesses and small business owners. Tamsin believes very strongly that the way to stimulate an economy and a country is to have many small businesses that are growing. And that way they can employ more people, they can contribute more to society, and they can build a better future. And she has seen firsthand how marketing can help these businesses to truly grow and build that better future that they are dreaming of. And that is why she is so passionate about teaching us how to do our marketing properly. So passionate, in fact, that she wrote a book about it. And I know we are getting a shortened version of the book today. So welcome, Tamsin. So excited to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And thank you for such a lovely introduction as well. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope that you are all nice and warm when you are, nice and cold in Cape Town. So I'm sure the rest of the country seems to be doing the same thing as well. So yes, hi, my name is Tamsin Haley, CEO and founder of Social Happiness. We've been around for the last 5 years, and I've been working in marketing for over 10 years. And we've worked with a number of big brands like USN or University of Stellenbosch and University of Cape Town as well, to give you an idea of a few. But a lot of the time we actually work with small and medium businesses to help them better what they're doing in the digital space. And because of that and that experience, I was enabled to write my book, which is called Don't Be a Twatwaffle, 15 marketing mistakes that you can avoid. If you would like to get a copy at the end of this presentation, just to go into a bit more detail on what we're going to be covering today, you're more than welcome to. And you would find it on Amazon, especially if you're a Kindle reader. And you can also order a copy off of Takealot or directly from me. There is now a website called don'tbeatwatwaffle.co.za. So you can make a call. If you order from me, I'll give you a signed copy as well. So what we found in the last number of years is that small and medium businesses, but even larger businesses, tend to make the same marketing mistakes again and again and again. So we see the same issues in businesses. And it's interesting to see with businesses who resolve these issues quickly that they really get good momentum with their business and their marketing. They start developing that return on investment faster. Whereas the businesses who just hit these hurdles and struggle with them and don't seem to move anywhere past them just do take longer. There's often stories where you'll be talking to someone and they're on their third or fourth web developer, as an example, and there's potentially a relationship issue there, but there's often other things that have happened in the process as well. So it's just identifying those problems, giving them a name, giving them a little bit of background, and then actually having an action plan to get away from it or to make that part of the business work a bit better. So that's what the book focuses on, is identifying the problem, then just stepping into why it's an issue and then providing an action plan out of it. And I'm going to go through that with you today. So just to give you an idea, firstly, of what a twatwaffle is, it's a word which I learned at university. One of my friends picked it up somewhere, and it was great to just start using as a word. We used it quite liberally at the time. But the definition behind it is like an absolute imbecile, or somebody who's just really stupid, but pretends to be an expert in a certain field. And there's that whole fake it till you make it situation behind that. And sometimes we just need a little bit of education and background to help us move past that space. So the first problem that we see with businesses is that we're constantly on the search for the silver bullet, that one thing that is going to fix our marketing, that one thing that's going to just make sure that our business rockets to success. And the reality is that, to be honest, if any digital marketing agency or traditional agency had that bullet, they would be selling it because it would make them a lot of money. So there is no single thing that you can do for your business other than actually planning and thinking about what it is that you're doing and the impact that you want to have on the world. what problem it is that you solve for people. And if you can describe your marketing message in a way that you highlight that problem and who has that problem and how you solve it for them, you're going to do better in the long run for your business. So what we find works really well to just define this and lay it out better is if you spend time defining your vision and mission. And I know that this is a lot of business owners, other than if I say we need video for social media, if I say vision and mission, it's often the thing that they're like, oh, we just really don't want to get around to that. Or, oh, I did it, but it was 20 years ago and it's up on a placard somewhere, or it's sitting in a folder on their computer. So nothing further than that happens with it. So why it's important to look at a vision and mission is, firstly, your vision taps into who you as the business owner, your founder, your CEO is, and that core that you have inside of you that really gives you good drive, focus, and direction, and is often your meaning for being here. So it's just tapping into that and going, how do I bring this across in my business? And that how do I bring it across in my business is all about your mission. Your mission is your action plan. So having that almost step-by-step guide of, this is the change that we want to enable, your vision, and this is how we do it, your mission statement. And if you get those laid out really well, the rest of your marketing process is actually quite easy, because now you've got a true north that you can measure any decision up against. You've got an opportunity that comes your way for a client or a customer. You can always just go, is this in line with us and our ethos? Yes, no. Okay, then you can make different decisions. If you're looking at growth, expansion, mergers, anything like that, you can just bring it back to your vision and mission and actually just figure out if it's in line with what you want to be doing and how you want to be taking your business forward. So step one for us is vision and mission clarification. Really just makes a big difference for your business. The second thing is knowing who you make a difference to. So to be able to do that, you first got to know what problem it is that you solve for people. What is that pain point in their lives? People are change resistant, and we don't just spend our very hard-earned money on anything and everything. We need to see how it's going to add value to our lives. At the end of the day, we walk through life as the hero in our own story. If we were writing a novel about our lives, we would be the protagonist. We would be the person that was based around. And that's the lens that we view the world through. And every single person in your target audience thinks the same. So we need to make sure that we know exactly who it is that we make a difference to. Where do we come across this problem? Again, many business owners, if you ask them who they're looking to do business with, the line is often, well, anybody and everybody who would buy from me. And that's great. Obviously, if anyone comes to you and says that they want to give you money for your product or service, you're going to say yes. So that's great. But you need to know who it is exactly that you're talking to. And the more time you spend on this step, the better, again, your marketing efforts are going to be. I find that this is a core crux when it comes to making your digital marketing in particular work for you, because the more you know about this group, the more specific you can be in things like your paid advertising. So if you're setting up a Facebook advert as an example, and you get to that detailed description area, rather than just going, oh, well, they live in this province or this city, or they're in South Africa and they're kind of between the ages of 18 and 65, which is, again, everybody on Facebook. And they're both genders. You're leaving it very broad for yourself. So you need to know who it is that you're talking to, what they might be interested in, what their habits are. How do they find new information? Do they ask their friends and family for recommendations? Are they a technophobe? Or do they just jump onto Google to find the answer to any question that they have? Or do they go to things like Facebook community groups and ask strangers for their opinion and for reviews? So you need to know who you're working with and how they gather information so that you can make sure that you're going to get in front of them on their searches. So spending that time talking to your current clients or having a look at who your current clients are and drawing little maps around those characteristics that they have in common, that can be a really big help. Or even asking people, who do you think that this makes a difference to, if you're unsure yourself? If you've got an idea of your target market, it's worthwhile going to look at it and seeing how better you can define it and how much more information you can put into it. Just to give you a quick case study, which everyone should be more or less aware of, the Donald Trump campaign to win presidency in the US. One of the main reasons he won is he actually sat and he looked at the constituents across the United States and what they were most likely to vote for because of what their pain points were. Then he looked at what they were standing for, and they did very, very targeted messaging actually on social media. So if you were a gunslinging gun lover and you were very dead set that the gun laws should be open for anybody to own whatever you want, they made sure you saw that message. And that was the only message you saw. You didn't necessarily see the 20 other things that he was standing for and promising to change. So it just shows you how impactful a micro dive into your target market can be for your business, and spending the time to figure that out is well worth it. Knowing what environment your business lives in is also really, really good and very important. I'm going to describe this through a case study for you. So when I first started working, my first job was at the Mastermath head office in their marketing department. So we had the national brand that we needed to look after, which was, great. So that's mostly a branding exercise, getting it out there, putting it on as many platforms as possible and putting ad spend behind it. Fantastic. But we had 156 centers across the country, and your people that you needed to connect with in the likes of Soweto were quite different from who you needed to connect with in Claremont and Cape Town, just as an example. Not only was that group of people different, but the marketing opportunities in the areas are 100% different. Different municipalities allow different things. So an example, non-digital, just to highlight a point, street pole adverts. Very, very easy to book a street pole advert in Gauteng if you've got a business. Not so easy in Cape Town. You have to have an event basically in Cape Town if you want to pull that off. And even then, it's really tricky to get it right. So we had to look at each micro environment across the country for these businesses, even though we were selling the same thing to people, and help them find out what would work best for them. And I got to do this activity with a lot of our franchise owners because a number of them were ex-teachers who bought a business, didn't have a business background, and were figuring this out as they went. So it was a really great activity and a good space to work with. And we could see the difference that it made when you really just spent that time figuring out what all your marketing options were and capitalizing on them. And that can sound really strange coming from a digital marketer. I mean, surely I should just be saying, well, get on Facebook and put up posts and you'll be fine. But the thing is that every touch point that you create in your marketing plan helps your digital marketing, or even gives you content. I mean, if you're going to brand your car, you could take pictures of it in different places and use that as social content, or events that you're doing, or activations. So there's different ways of pulling that traditional marketing into your digital marketing plan to just give it even extra authenticity, and it helps you connect with more people. So knowing what those options are available for you and spending that time doing the research is worth it. Fourth problem that we discovered is that everyone's always on the hunt for leads, and perfect and rightly so. We want to make money. That's why we're in business. But this constant hunting for leads is exhausting for businesses. You end up spending so much time trying to figure out where that next person is and sort of chasing them down that it can be quite exhausting. And we also see that this is then a space where a lot of ad spend in particular, so Google ads or Facebook ads as examples, ends up getting used, and not a lot of return on investment happens. Rather than building an ecosystem that brings people to you, that creates a community space that can help people understand why they should do business with you. So that would be sort of the difference, that hunting and just putting things out there and spending a lot of money versus creating a community. And you're still spending money and using ad spend, so don't get me wrong about that. But it can again be more targeted and more impactful because there's a community space, there's room for people to build a relationship with you in a cold digital environment before they've even met you. So it's just that shift in mindset and looking at building an ecosystem rather than trying to create as many touch points as possible. Recently come across a business coach who's got, I kid you not, about 13 different websites for what they do, which is great. They've got all these touch points, but none of them are speaking to each other. So what we're looking to do now is go, right, where do we create a funnel from all of these pages to bring people to events so they can meet them face to face? Because first and foremost, that's how they convert people. So that should be the focus. And from there as well, okay, so maybe people aren't ready to go to an event, or they're interested, but the next event is in Auckland, for example, and they're sitting in New York. What then? So there's a secondary call to action there to pull them into a newsletter funnel so that you can still build a relationship with them until there is an event that would work for them to join. So that would be the difference between building an ecosystem and almost farming leads versus hunting for leads. Another one we see often is somebody who wants help and they've got any and every social media platform that you can think about. And this one was sort of posted on 2 years ago, and this one's the most recent fad, so it's very up to date and very busy. And there's other ones, and I might experiment with this. But what you're doing as a business owner is you're creating a lot of work for yourself, and it's something that's not necessarily going to be very impactful because different kinds of people use different kinds of social media platforms. We saw a mass exodus of millennials off of Facebook simply because our moms climbed on there, to give you an idea, because who wanted to be on the same social media platform as your mom when you were a teenager or a young adult? And that's why Instagram is so popular with millennials. It was sort of that external extra something that you could do that your mom wasn't necessarily on. But it means that if you're looking to target people who are older than 45 at the moment, Facebook is fantastic, especially women between the ages of 45 and 55 are on Facebook, and they're making active purchasing decisions because they spend time there, they see the adverts. It's actually become their researching and hunting ground for different options. So knowing which platforms cater for different kinds of people, and again, knowing your target market makes a big difference. And you're going to be creating a marketing machine that speaks directly to your target audience where they're already spending time online, and you're not draining your time and energy and creativity to come up with content and making sure that you are servicing all the different platforms. So to just be mindful and actually to take it a step back if you need to. Start with one platform, get comfortable with it, build a good plan around it, and then you can always add new platforms as you go. Or let's, for argument's sake, say we find that Facebook is going to go the same way as MySpace. You've then at least got other options that you can tap into so that you're not losing your entire marketing engine. So a bit of diversity is important, but not too much. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So if you haven't spent time figuring out your marketing plan, what it is that you want to achieve, first and foremost, is most important. What are you trying to do? What is your business going to look like when you're finished? If you could look at it one day and go, okay, it's done, if that ever does happen, but what would that look like to you? And it's sort of looking at what is that exit plan? Are you looking to build a legacy business? Do you want to have something that your children can take over and run one day? Do you want to sell it? Just knowing what your exit plan is can help you just look at that bigger picture. And then once you know what that bigger picture is, it's actually looking at it and going, okay, so then how do we get there? So your business plan does need to come before your marketing plan. You can't start marketing and hoping to build in a direction to get bigger if you don't know what bigger looks like, or even sustainable, whatever it is that your goal is, make sure you're building towards it. And when it comes to your marketing plan, it then also really helps you to just execute things in a way that makes sense and works for you. And what happens, especially in a smaller or medium-sized business where the business owner is still wearing 5 to 6 to 7 different kinds of hats, when you get busy and you're servicing a lot of customers and suddenly you find that you're not quite getting to your own business's needs, what's great is that when you get that lull and that moment when you can focus on your marketing again, you have a plan. You don't have to go and reinvent the wheel. You can just look at the plan and go, right, what was that next step? Okay, let's execute that now. So it helps you in the long run, especially when things are busy and you are doing well. It just helps you keep that momentum rather than ending up in a situation where you've gotten a whole load of clients, you then stop doing your marketing or rethink your marketing, which means it's going to take longer to get up and running again. And then you've got a dry leads and sales funnel. So it's focusing on making sure that that doesn't happen in your business. Your website is always going to take longer than you plan it to. I know a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm going to find a web developer and we're going to have it up and it will be ready in 2 weeks. It is not the reality. I've had one project that I've been involved in where the website was literally done in 2 weeks from first concept meeting to up. It was amazing, and it will probably never happen again. I think that that's the reality on my side. If it does, I will definitely shout about it on social media. But this is such a process that we just need to break down into it and have a look and see where is that responsibility for the business owner and where is the responsibility of the web developer or the team who is creating this for them, because that's where a lot of the communication goes wrong. partly because web developers tend to not be people. I know one or two are, but in the majority, they don't talk people, they talk computers. So they can forget to communicate things, and that makes the process a little bit more challenging. But also there's an expectation to get the website up and running as quickly as possible. But a busy business owner hasn't necessarily thought about what kind of content, what wording would they want on their website, what kind of pictures would they want, what do they like on websites, what don't they like on websites. So at the beginning of the process, there's a big conceptual part that the business owner needs to be involved in. And again, to an extent, so not micromanaging the process and the button should be here. Leave that to the web developer. That is why they are the professional. But you need to know what it is that you want the website to do. Is it a brochure site? Is it an e-commerce site? Do you want to be able to add a blog section onto it? You know, those basic questions. What is your general look and feel? What don't you like about certain websites? And have examples. Look at these 4 websites. I don't like this, this, and this on these. I like these websites, and this is why. Or sometimes it's difficult to say what exactly you like about it, but you can say the feeling or the flow. Anything like that can help your web developer. And then actually having the photos, video, if you're not a writer yourself, that is perfectly okay. It's definitely not an expectation that you write your own website, but some of the content that you need in there would be good to have to hand over to the web developer. Things like your product list, service list, vision, mission, a little bit about you or the business. Then they can mold the rest of your content out of that. So just to have that in place, then you'll find that this process doesn't take that long. It can't be a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 month project if you've been able to go, here we go, here's what I think, this is my input, and then let the web developer go and figure out their job. It's also worth spending your time interviewing a couple of web developers and finding the one that you fit the best with. Relationship is important because this is a process. So somebody that you get on well with, who does listen and understands you, is going to make a big difference and will leave you with less gray hairs at the end of the process as well. How do we know what's working? So marketing in essence is all about testing and measuring. That is what we do as marketers. We put out a concept, we see how people respond to it, and we use that information to gauge, okay, are we keeping it the same? Are we building on this idea, or do we need to change track completely? So you can think about this with big brands in particular. Nando's is a favorite example of mine. There was that one advert that they had which got pulled because it upset people, rightly so. It had a BCCSA complaint against it, and that was the one with the blind gentleman walking his dog, whose guide dog then got distracted by the smell of Nando's because it was that good, and he walked into the lamppost. And obviously they got in trouble for that, but what was brilliant about their comeback from that is they took the same advert and clipped it just ahead of the man hitting the pole and aired it again. And because people had already seen it, our brain completed that loop, and it actually increased their revenue quite hectically during that time. So they knew it was working because of the bad backlash. Now, I'm not saying that you should get bad backlash to know what's working and what's not working, but looking at the numbers in digital marketing can show you what kind of posts you're creating that are engaging and why. And you can focus on doing more of those and less of the ones that aren't getting reach and engagement. I actually had a meeting this morning with a client where we were sitting and looking at the posts that we created in the last month, and we picked up that we did 4 posts where we started them off with hashtag Mythbuster, and all of those did exceptionally well. So people wanted to be educated. They want to, get to grips with the content of what the brand's actually selling as well. And we also saw on those days there were traffic spikes on their website. So it's well worth looking at everything and how it relates to each other. So it is also important not to just look at a single platform and go, oh, well, this post's kind of working. What action is it driving in your business? Are you getting more people to your website? Are you getting sales off of that? And if you've got your digital marketing tools like Google Analytics set up, you make this process so much easier for yourself because you can see where those correlation points are. This one is something I get asked about all the time, knowing when our content is good enough. I think we get so stuck in imposter syndrome and perfectionism that this freaks out a lot of business owners who are doing their own marketing. So the best piece of advice I can give you here is that 70% on whatever you're creating is good enough. And that's simply for the reason that each post on social media doesn't live for a very long time at all. The longest living social media post is on LinkedIn, and you can expect a LinkedIn post that you post maybe doesn't get too many comments to live for about 25 hours. If it gets more comments and interaction, it's going to live longer. In comparison to right down at the other end of the scale, you get your tweet, which lives for 8 minutes. So if you're spending an extreme amount of time creating content, you're probably putting more energy into it than what you're going to get out of it. So you've got to go in and sort of do a bit of a plan for yourself, write it, create it, or ask a team member to do it if that's how you do it in your business, and then get it out. Because social media is a churning, monstrous machine that just needs to be fed the entire time. So don't drive yourself crazy trying to figure out if it's absolutely perfect or better than your competitors. Make sure it's in line with what you do, that it answers the problem that you solve for people, and that you tell people how to do business with you. We often forget that call to action. And when you're looking at a good content mix, you want to create a couple of different posts. So we want to sell to people about 25% of the time. That can be your hard sell. Join us for this. Sign up for a webinar. You can purchase this off of our website, buy it on Takealot, whatever it is, that should happen 25% of the time. Then another 25% of the time, you should be educating people. And that can be on your industry or on how you work as a business as well, or why you make different people's lives better. So it can be testimonials or case studies that could also fall into that space, which is also a sneaky way of getting a couple of extra selling posts in, because they're not hard sells, but consumer created content really does trump anything you're going to say about your own business anyway, because we'd rather do business with people with businesses where other people have gone, this business is really good, rather than me saying, well, I'm amazing and you should do business with me. So it does help to have that in the mix as well. Then you want to be creating posts for engagement. So popular ones, if I think about like a pizza brand, would be, do you like pineapple on pizza or not? You're going to get sort of very divided groups, but you're going to get people talking, commenting, and weighing in. So when you're looking for engagement, look at how you can create content where people are going to comment or share your posts, also count as an engagement. And all the little different reactions that you have on posts as well all count as engagement. And what engagement does is that it just makes sure that that post then gets put in front of more and more people, because the first group of people who saw it really liked what they were seeing. So more people should. That's at least what the algorithm thinks. And then lastly, we also want to work on entertainment. Now, entertainment doesn't mean funny ha-ha. So it doesn't mean that you have to fill your page or stream with memes or jokes or anything like that, but anything that people find entertaining works. So a couple of nice things are showing off your team, even if it is just you. If it is just you, give them a little bit of a day in your life. Take pictures and showcase what it means to do your job, what it means to service your customers. Behind the scenes footage, we love it. It actually drives people crazy. It's the only reason that reality TV does so well. So make use of that in your social media. It doesn't have to be dramatic and salacious. It just has to be, this is what's happening behind the scenes. You get a couple of those things into your mix, you've got a good content mix that you're creating, and you don't need to worry about if it's good enough. And you'll learn, because if you're testing and measuring, you're going to figure out what you need to do more of. And that's how you get past this hurdle for yourself. And trust yourself. You know what you're doing. You know your business. You're the expert. So your content will be good enough. Panel of experts. So we come across this every now and again in business, where we get asked to assist a business from a digital marketing perspective, and then they might already have a web developer in, and the web developer does a little bit of social media as well. And then they've pulled in an SEO expert, so search engine optimization expert, who's doing work on websites as well, but it's not web development. And then there might be another person as well, but everyone's role slightly overlaps. Now, that can be beautiful for a business, or it can be catastrophic. So the whole point that we want to look at here is making sure that if you are pulling in different service providers or even team members in-house to do different parts of your marketing for you, that they work well together, and that they're willing to either concede on certain parts because that's not their main focus in this project, or let's work in that space collaboratively because we both have expertise there. Then you're building a strong team. It's when, and I mention this because unfortunately in the marketing sphere, we do draw people with egos. So it's the minute the ego comes into play here that you're going to be creating a space that is a bit detrimental to your business. So your panel of experts, the people who are helping you build your marketing and build your business, it's incredibly important who you choose to bring to the party and how well they work together. Even if you like them, it doesn't mean that they're all going to play nicely. So something to just assess as you're hiring in new team members. We also see that when people outsource their marketing specifically, it happens less internally, though it can. But if it's outsourced in particular, there's a risk that your marketing starts working separately from your business. What I mean by that is you have someone dedicated to focusing on it for you, and they're creating content and marketing material based off maybe an initial conversation that you had focused on your goals and your strategy. But then if you don't touch base often enough, or have the opportunity to tell them about what's happening in the business, or things that you're thinking about working on, or things that you are working on, the direction that you and the business start heading in and the direction that your marketing starts heading in can be completely separate. So it's just important to remember and remind yourself that marketing is actually a very core component of your business, and that person or people that are working on it with and for you need to be very close to you in a way, because they need to get all of that stuff out of the business owner's head, all those reasons that you started this and your drive and the direction, so that they can do their job well and do it properly. Then often we're always on the search for greener pastures. It always looks better when somebody else is doing it, right? So if you're looking at one of your competitors' social media feeds or even their website, you could be looking at that and going, oh, it's so much better than ours. And the thing is one, they might have spent more budget on it. They've used a different partnership. They might not even be happy with how they're being represented and are having that same conversation in their head, even though you think that it looks good. And part of that is potentially because when we're looking at things the whole time and it's our brand, it can start feeling stagnant, even though that's not how the rest of the world could perceive it. But we need to focus in on ourselves first and foremost, because that's the other side of it, is that the grass is always greener where we water it. So if you're not happy with what you're seeing and you feel like everybody else in the market is yonks ahead of you, you need to reflect inwards first and go, okay, what are we currently doing? How can we do what we're currently doing better? What should we be doing next? What are those next steps in our marketing to take it to that next level? And if you do that, you'll find that your marketing ends up working really well for you. The danger in this space is what we see happens is, ooh, that person seems to be doing something better. Okay, let me change service providers, or let me hire a new team member. There's almost a knee-jerk reaction that happens to just change it, rather than doing that assessment first and figuring out what it is that really is bugging you about your own marketing machine, and then working in on that first. Sometimes we forget to ask people the question about what else they might be good at. So you're helping me with this part of my business, and I think that this isn't necessarily just in the marketing realm, but I'm being helped with this, so this person must only be good at this. And then you forget to actually ask them about what else they could assist and help you with. Where are their other strengths and core services that they can bring to the table? I ended up writing this chapter based on a client. We had such a laugh at this afterwards. We were working towards him to build a lead generation machine ready for his business. The brand was beautiful. We were getting great content, and we were working there, but he was overseas quite a bit. So sometimes connecting with him was a bit tricky. And I had a meeting with him, and he said, oh, he's decided to bring another company on board because they do lead generation. I sat there, looked at him and was like, but that's what we've been doing, and that's what we're working towards. So how are they planning on doing it for you? And he described a very similar strategy to what we were looking at doing. So we did end up having a good giggle. We tried to bring the other team in for a while. That didn't work so well, but it was because it was the exact vision of what we were doing already, but trying to duplicate it. And sometimes I think we just forget what it is that people can do for us. So it's just a reminder to, even if someone's helping you with something small, or they are helping you with something, check back in. What is it that we're doing? What is the direction? How are we achieving that? What's the strategy again? And then know from there. And if you have good ideas or something you just need to bounce off someone to see if it should be the next step in your business, talk to the people you've got on your team already. They'll know their strengths and weaknesses and should be able to say to you, yeah, that's not a problem. Let's add that on, and we could do that by doing this, 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 and this, or that could be the next project we're going to work on. Or they can come back to you and say, actually, I don't have those skills. I either have a service provider who we can bring in, or I can find one for you, or you can find one. I mean, there's a couple of options there. But again, know what's in your toolkit before you start searching for other alternatives. Figuring out whether or not to collaborate is a big part of marketing, especially these days with influencers left, right, and center. There's a number of businesses who believe in getting influencers to assist and help them, and it can be very beneficial to the business. But that's sort of where the conversation stops. They just go, we need an influencer. We need influencers. And okay, but that's actually the beginning part of the conversation. Yes, we need influencers, but what kind of influencer? And again, tapping back into that target market actually really helps with that, and your vision and mission, because then you can find people who you could collaborate with, especially on social media, to really drive home your marketing message and get you in front of the target audience so that you can connect better with them. You only know that if you start having those questions and conversations. And instead of hiring the first influencer or the one who's going to do it for a free box of goodies or whatever it might be, have different conversations, try different options, talk to people who want to charge money, talk to people who don't want to charge money, and find out where your best fit is going to be. Because what happens is that we go, well, I need an influencer, or I need a business partner, or I need an investor. And we don't take that conversation further. And they're very important conversations to have in finding the right people to help and assist you. Somebody like an influencer who's very in the public space and has your business name attached to it could be detrimental to your business, or could be a fantastic partner for the next couple of years if you find the right one. So just something to keep in mind when you're looking at that space. And then the last one that we often see, and this again is all businesses, I think, across the board. Sometimes we're so involved in our businesses that we forget to see the wood for the trees. We are focusing in on doing the work for the current clients and just putting that next step in front of each other, that we forget to take that step back as business owners and just look at that bigger picture again and go, what is it that we're actually creating here? What are we working towards? Because that can help you identify different gaps in your marketing, in your business as a whole, or that next thing that you need to do. So finding a way to make sure that you as the business owner, and tricky for solopreneurs, but this is your plan then for future, is either how do I automate good parts of my business so that I can have the thinking time to be able to plan my next steps and what I'm building, or who do I need to bring in to hand over these tasks that I really don't like doing so I can focus on building the business and going forward. So just to show you how social happiness helps with this, one, education. So talks like this, there's courses, the book, there's more books than the planning as well as actually doing full turnkey solutions and management for people. And we also consult. So we can come into an environment and have a look and see what's happening in it, and then advise and consult based on what we're seeing. And we find that this helps businesses in different parts of their business journey solve different issues that they have at different times. I think I just said the word different like 5 times in 5 different ways, but just to give you an idea. So yeah, that is it. Those are 15 marketing mistakes that you can avoid in your business if you just take some time to look into it, and especially taking that step back as the business owner, have your time to think, and you can actually plan and avoid these hassles.
Thank you, Tamsin. That was very cool.
Pleasure.
Okay, we're going to open up to questions for anyone who has any. I would like to ask you, because these are obviously 15 mistakes to avoid. What do you suggest for people? How do they look at what they're doing and then recognize these 15 mistakes and which one they should focus on first?
Perfect. There's actually a step in the book for that, which was brilliant. I had such a good giggle the other day. I was was meeting with a potential client, and before our meeting, he'd sent me a document, and I read through it, and I said to him, "Oh, I really like how you did this." And he's like, "Oh, it's from your book." And I was like, "Oh, girl, that's good. Thank you." So what I suggest with that is having the time to think and actually doing an assessment on your business and going, okay, firstly, what do we have? What have we done and created? And you sort of just list it. And then you list the things that you've maybe started but haven't completed yet. Those go onto the list as well. And then list the things that you've heard of that you think might work well, or that you've been thinking about implementing. And then rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. How far into, well, firstly, are they complete or not? Needs to be part of that scoring metric, but also, are they serving you? Yes or no? And then you'll start seeing where you need to improve things. So things that are doing relatively well and okay, they can wait, or maybe just need some improvement in testing and measuring. But if something like your website is sitting at 5 and below, that's definitely, a key point that you need to look at. Website is important for most businesses, and actually all businesses, because it's the cornerstone for our marketing, and it's where conversions happen in the digital space, and it's often overlooked. So that would be number one. If you don't have a website, if you do have a website, just make sure it loads quickly and has it gets people to how to do business with you quickly enough. If it answers those 3 questions, it might not be your smoking gun.
Awesome, thank you.
Pleasure.
If anyone else has a question for Tamsin, you're welcome to unmute yourself, ask the question, put it in the chat box, whatever works for you. Otherwise, for those of you that are watching the recording, because I know there were a lot of people who wanted to attend today and had load shedding. If you are watching the recording, and obviously you can't see the details that I just put in the chat so that you can get hold of Tamsin, I will also be putting them underneath the recording so that you can send her some questions directly. But yeah, while those of you who are here, you have access to her, I do recommend that you grab that time, because she is a wonderful well of marketing knowledge. So any questions at all in the chat, or unmute yourself and ask. Otherwise, I'm also just going to ask one more, Tamsin. the marketing is something that I feel like a lot of business owners are overwhelmed by. And many of them are actually just not doing it because they think they can't, or they don't know how, or they try and bring in an expert often, and then they spend a lot of money and it goes nowhere because they haven't done those initial steps that you mentioned about knowing your business and knowing yourself. So I probably just answered the question, but my question is, where would you start if you've got no marketing strategy at all? So these 15 mistakes don't even matter right now because you're not doing anything. What would you start with?
I think it very much does go back to sort of that step one. What is it that you're doing and why? So if you can answer that, then the rest can start coming. But I think what happens sometimes is, we get into business and we go, well, this is going to make money. Whether it's a passion of ourselves, or I think more rarer is a business-minded person who comes in and goes, okay, well, there's an opportunity and I can see this is going to make money. We tend to start from our passion point. And at some point we forget that that it is our passion, but how does it connect with other people? So it's going, what is it? What is that core? And how does it answer a problem for other people? That's, I think, where that journey starts, because then you start identifying your target market, where they're spending time, how you should be talking to them, what kind of words you should be using to get their attention. And the channels, the social media platforms, the websites, those come next.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Pleasure.
Does nobody else have a question today? You're a very quiet group. So it probably is everybody also got all their cameras are off because they're sitting in darkness for load shedding.
Could be.
Hi, Ray. You're on mute.
Hi. No, because I've got solar.
Ah, good.
No questions though, just showing you my
questions.
face.
You're just showing your face. No questions
Thanks,
at all.
Ray. Good to see you.
Okay.
Well, either I was very good at describing that, or 15 mistakes is overwhelming.
I personally really enjoyed it. So thank you very much, Tamsin. I am going to
Okay,
put the
thank you.
recording on YouTube. So anyone who felt it was overwhelming, you can go watch it and re-watch it as many times as you need to. We will be sending it out. Michelle says you were very good at explaining. So there we
Thank you,
go.
Michelle.
And if there aren't any questions,
Tamsin, I'll make one comment.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if it's really a question, but you know, in my personal experience as a business owner and having to do everything, I'm the chief cook and bottle washer. And most days life happens and I only get to sit in front of my laptop for the first time at 11 o'clock in the morning. And then I'm going, right, I'm supposed to have been working since 7 o'clock this morning, because that's just what happens, because it doesn't matter. Life happens, things need to get done, and it doesn't matter how much I plan. And I understand how important marketing is and all of that. And yes, I know why I started doing what I'm doing. And, you know, Tamron's heard the story a million times, so I'll spare her. But, you know, I can't tell the story in 30 seconds, number one. And I don't have the time to come up with a story that's going to take me 3 hours to tell and then to cut it down to 10 seconds. You know, so that's probably my biggest challenge. And, you know, as a business owner who is a startup, who's just started, the reason why I'm chief cook and bottle washer is because I can't afford help right now. You know, and I'm being honest, and it's not that this person's too expensive for. I've spoken to some incredible people who have made some incredible suggestions. Some of them I've met on Farside, on the webinars. And their prices are really not ridiculous. And I can see how they've even gone out of their way to try and accommodate the fact that and yet right now, I'm not in a space to be able to afford it. So what is your advice for somebody like me who doesn't have a lot of time? I have fantastic concepts in my head, but I have no idea to put it on paper. I don't have the time to learn Calendly, and I don't really have the resources to actually pay somebody to do it right now. I mean, maybe in a year or two's time, I'll have lots of money to throw to that, and then I'll get the best to do it for me. But right now, and let's face it, right now is when I really need it, right?
100%. That is exactly it. It's always right now. It's always that moment where you go, oh, sales are a bit slow. I need it now. And that's the thing. So something is better than nothing, like a gym workout. So if you can even just get yourself to do a post a week to begin with, even if it's just, this is what I sell and this is how you buy it. Even if you're getting that one right, it's better than nothing. Okay. And then when you are going about your busy day, try to do two things for yourself. One, keep your phone with you, snap pictures, just play around with what's going on in your day-to-day vibe, because it does sound like you're very busy. So you probably have, I would say, maybe 3-4 opportunities a day to showcase something that's going on in the business, whether that's, I don't know, are you product or service based?
No, service. I'm a recruiter.
Service. Okay, yes, yeah. So it's always a little trickier when we're service-based businesses, but then you can sort of showcase a little bit more about what's going on in your day. So even if you literally are dressed and you've got a whole lot of Zoom interviews coming up, you quick picture, you've got something. Okay, so do that for yourself for a little bit and see what you can grab, and then you might find that like the written content to go with that is easier. When you're in that space, it's the best you can do.
Awesome. That's a really good suggestion. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Ray, I also find video is often easier to create than thinking out content. Just on your phone, literally just speak whatever comes to your mind about a topic, and you're probably going to throw most of them away. But every now and then you're going to be like, oh, that was good, and then you can actually save it and use it.
The problem is I cannot stand the sound of my own voice, which means I'm going to record them and listen to none of them.
Okay, so then use a transcribing tool. So do yourself a favor. Have you got a husband or married? No? Okay, best friend or somebody, put them into a group on WhatsApp with you, kick them out the group. So tell them it's happening. All right. Then you've got a little space on WhatsApp where you're talking to yourself. There's a transcribe button there. So instead of doing a voice note to yourself, you hit that transcribe button, talk it. It's there in writing. It'll be a little gobbledygooky because of obviously transcription, but your concept and your core idea is there for when you've got that mind space letter at 11 o'clock in the morning when you're finally sitting down. Half your thinking work's been done for you.
Wow, that's another really good suggestion. I'm going to write that down because I'll forget it if I don't. Here's my pen. Here's my pen.
Good.
Got- I've got the
You
recording.
can
I can listen
rewatch.
back to the. I'll have to listen to my own voice to listen to the recording,
And there's the problem.
and therein lies the problem.
Awesome. So if there's no other questions, I'm going to let us go because we're all business owners, we're all busy and we've got things to do. Tamsin, thank you so very much. I found that really interesting and insightful. And I'm probably going to watch it more than once, to be honest, because of the 15. But anyone else who is watching, please do reach out to Tamsin if you do need help with your marketing. You got that bit of budget. Even if you don't have budget for ongoing help, buy her book because it's amazing. So, and it will help you to build a better marketing strategy. Otherwise, everybody enjoy your day and thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Tamron.